Welcome back to another session of Self-Care for Healers online masterclass series. I'm your host, Peter Van Twyver, and it is my privilege to introduce Lauren Rainbow. Lauren is a happy medium, a shamanic and healing practitioner, spiritual teacher, and sacred journeyer dedicated to spirit, healing, and love. Her work with spirit has brought her worldwide. Lauren is an evidential medium with a unique ability to deliver heart-centered messages from spirit. She is passionate about supporting your intuitive development and loves to bring people to sacred sites like Egypt, Mexico, Peru, and India for life-changing empowerment journeys. Okay, I can't lie, that sounds awesome.
Yay! Hello.
Sign me up for that. I've been dying to go to Egypt, and it's on my bucket list. So, yes. Yes. So Lauren, thank you for being part of our journey. And can you please tell the audience, how did journeying to sacred sites change your life? How did that happen?
Oh my God. So my first sacred journey was almost 20 years ago, Peter. It's amazing. And I was kind of dragged kicking and screaming, believe it or not, to England was my first one, which was life-changing. Sacred journeys are not just a way of visiting old ancient sites and just taking pictures and being, oh, I've been here. But when you journey in a sacred way, when you really open your heart to take in the amazing energies that have been imbued in these old ancient sites, you're really creating a shift in your energy, a shift in your frequency. For some of us, we're reconnecting with past life, soul life. So I started Sacred Journeying in 2003 as a participant. I've been to several countries around the world, several sacred sites. In 2014, I was in Mexico in Teotihuacan, sitting on the moon pyramid, when I had my first vision of wanting to bring people as well to these sites and creating a sacred way. So I started that in 2017 and have been sacred journeying ever since.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Yes. So the wheels are turning. I'm trying to think of how can I get on Lauren Rainbow's trip.
Right. There will always be trips happening. It's become, I call it a side hustle of my work as being a medium. I know, as we talked about, so I've also been doing mediumship as a part of this work for over 20 years, which is really also what got me into sacred journeys. But if I can just talk a little bit about synchronicity of life, because I think it's so key to anyone here who's, doing the healing work or on the spiritual journey, is understanding that our whole life you've been on the journey, and some of us may be waking up at different points of our lives. For me, my first awakening, I say first shift of the awakenings, we're always kind of shifting, aren't we? I think was around 23, 24 years old. And before that, though, I mean, we talk about the sacred sites, Egypt being one of my personal favorites. I know we were talking about Egypt for you as well. But as a child, for example, when I first heard about Egypt, my mother would watch me sit and draw the pyramids all the time. And so I was very drawn, even as a child, to these sacred sites. I loved seeing pictures of Stonehenge. I carried around the book in the 80s that had all of these ancient sites in them, from Machu Picchu to, some of the stone sites of Stonehenge, in England, as well as Egypt and India. And all of a sudden, it's amazing how synchronicity works. About it's been more than 15 years at my age now, but many, many years later, we'll say, a friend of mine returned this book to me. I hadn't seen it in many years. I thought I lost a copy, and she's like, oh, I found this copy on my shelf and it's saying to you. So it was the copy of this book I used to carry with me as a child, and I flipped through it, Peter, and believe it or not, I've been to so many of those sites now. And what's even more miraculous, there's a picture of Edgar Casey sitting at his desk in ARE in Virginia Beach, and I was down at ARE a few years ago sitting at that desk, and you put the picture of me and Edgar Casey side by side, and it's the same exact picture. So it's really fascinating how our whole lives we've really been on the journey. The universe is always saying to you, it's here, this is a part of who you are. We just have to keep following the path and looking back to go, oh, that was there. And the same thing happened with mediumship. For me, awakening to connecting with spirit started when I was a news reporter. Again, almost 20 years ago, I worked for a newspaper called The Messenger. Hello. And I covered death and dying every day. It was my job to be in a hard news reporter. When I left that work, I ended up living in a retired funeral home for a short time. So that really turned on the spiritual energy and just kind of put me on this path to spirit. And I lost my job. I was laid off the day before 9/11 happened. At that point, I just started to have a little bit of an early stage of a real awakening, as I say, like coming from a place of, just do through life to going, oh, wait, there's something more going on here. And then 9/11 happened, and I was young enough and independent enough that I gave up everything in my life to just deep dive into metaphysics and spirituality and just kind of take off from there. So I think it's amazing how synchronistic our lives are. And I'm sure, Peter, you can probably look back and see the moments that have always been guiding us to become who we are and to open up into the world of healing or intuition and to listen to that beautiful inner voice inside of us.
Right. I know Spirit has been trying to guide me for a while to put me on the right path. And sometimes I listened and sometimes I didn't listen.
Yeah.
And could you please speak to the audience about what happens if you don't listen? How does Spirit, how the angels, the divine spirits that have crossed over, how would they attempt to contact you if you're not paying attention?
That's a great question. And I think it's okay to first off say that there are times we don't listen, including myself. I always say there's nothing wrong in mistrusting, or I shouldn't even say mistrusting. There's nothing wrong in not listening to the intuition, which is sometimes in us creates mistrust. We might get an intuitive feeling, we don't listen to it, then we want to shut it down. And I always say that's okay. It's okay that you didn't listen. You just chose a lesson. You needed to learn something different in that moment. But I also believe that the universe is always with us, and they're always guiding us, and they're always pushing us, and they're always saying hello. But they always know how to back off too. Sometimes we're overwhelmed and we're dealing. I've had moments in my life where in the early years of doing this work, it was a hustle, right? Between trying to survive every day and pay the bills and trying to build a business of spirituality. So I would have to go back and forth between being a psychic and doing readings to getting a real job to pay the bills in the early 2000s. So I would have moments where I'm like, I give up, I'm done. And then they kind of knock on the door 6 months later and say, are you really done? Are you ready to come back and play? Here's an opportunity for you to come back and connect with us. And so the universe, I don't do that anymore. I'm so in trust with them now. But in my early years, I certainly had moments where I was like, I think I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And then they'd be, okay, Lauren, that's fine. We'll be quiet. And then a few months later, they knock on the door and go, here's an opportunity for you. And what I always found is if you're meant to do the work, the universe will always keep connecting and reconnecting with you. And returning to Egypt, but for my first time in this lifetime there, I was at a pinnacle place where I was truly coming to a place of being absolutely done. I'm like, okay, I've done this for 8 years. I'm a starving artist. I can't do this anymore. I need to grow up and be an adult. And then a friend of mine emailed me and said, I'm going to Egypt. I think you should go. And I opened up the email, and at the very top was the deity Sekhmet, who I love. And I went, okay, I put every single penny of my savings into that journey and crossed my fingers. I went on the journey. I came back, and I have been successfully self-employed working spirit ever since. It just changed everything about what I questioned and returned me to the understanding of spirit. So the universe is brilliant and patient with us. We're never not on the path. And I think that's so clear and important to hear, because people will say, oh, am I on the path? You are always on the path, whether you think you are or not. You are always making the choices that are there to either teach you something new or advance you on your path. So I think that's so important to know for those who may feel lost sometimes, especially right now, overwhelmed with life. Trust the process, get into that deep space that we need to be in begin to do the deep healing that needs to be done and trust that you're always on the path. It's also a shamanic belief that every part of your life is part of the journey. You know, the struggles that we go through, and sometimes those really deep struggles are a part of the journey. What we need to do is stop resisting them and dive into them and go, okay, this is going to be a hard ride right now, but I'm gonna grab the wheel. I'm gonna ride those bumps as best as I can, and we're gonna get through this and recognize that it's all part of the path. And when you have that reality, I think you'll learn to tackle everything from a higher perspective. And one thing that this has also taught me, Peter, is it brings me into a space of less judgment. Now, I am not perfect at being completely without judgment. That's a life practice. But if there's one thing that this path has taught me, and to understand the ups and downs of life, is to not judge my journey or anybody else's journey, because we don't understand sometimes what people are going through on the inside, although we only see what's happening on the outside. So spirituality and spirit has taught me to not judge others. When we work with spirit from the departed sense, I've communicated now for 20 years with spirits. And I've seen every form of life and passing that you can possibly imagine. And I've learned to have a different compassion for the world that the living doesn't see. You know, we don't understand the trauma that's going on in some people who maybe have a hardship of life, or have a struggle of life, or maybe have taken a choice in their life to perhaps leave this world. And when you learn to see it from the perspective of spirit versus our human perspective, you learn to understand there's so much more going on inside that we can't even begin to fathom most of the time.
So excellent advice. So your obstacles, your hardships, I've had my share.
Yes.
And would you say that hardships and obstacles are kind of forks in the road, where one, you're not given them unless you're ready, and two, would you say that these are really not necessarily obstacles, they're points of decision making, because you have free will, you have choice, and spirit is trying to teach you a lesson? Is that's how I've learned it. But
well, so this is a little bit of my perspective. And if there's one thing I've learned, because a lot of people will be like, I'm being tested. Never. Spirit is never testing us. We are testing ourselves all the time. The universe is not the end all be all. The universe is not this, or the universe, I say spirit, I use the two in combined for those who are listening, so you understand when I use spirit in the universe, I'm usually meaning that big energy of love and light that's shining down upon us. You said it well, we are the ones with free will. We're the ones who make our decisions. And so when a challenge comes our way, yes, are we being faced with an opportunity to make different decisions in our lives? Absolutely. Is the universe testing us? No, they're not. That's just human need to learn to work and support and understand different aspects of our lives, and to learn to make better decisions. That's why I say we should not mistrust our intuition just because we didn't listen to it. It doesn't mean our intuition made the mistake. We still made the choice to make the shift and change. So when you understand that perspective, you'll understand that the universe is not trying to test you. They're only trying to support you. The light of the energy of there is just simply there. When we ask for grace, grace will be there. So when we face a challenge or obstacle in our lives, rather than going, oh, I'm being tested, what we need to go is, okay, I'm being faced with a living opportunity to make a choice. I'm going to ask for grace in this decision, so that maybe my heart, my energy will guide me somewhere, and I'll feel that guidance. But I'm also going to go in a direction. Sometimes, like I said, Peter, I have moments where I go, I should have gone the other way. And again, I don't look at that as, oh, Lauren, you know, how horrible of you. I look at it and go, I made this direction. I made this choice for a reason. So I need to go through this process to understand, why did I make this choice? And when you learn to see this in a different way, Peter, I think it takes so much stress off us. And we live in a world right now where we beat ourselves down. We make so many judgments. We have our smack our head moments of, I should have done this better. I should have done this differently. And I've learned that when I look back on even some of the directions I should have done a little differently, I still got a benefit from the choice that I made. I learned something about myself or the people in my life. And when you can see that perspective, again, it's no judgment. You're learning to go, okay, so I made a mistake. I'm not going to judge it. Look at what I got from it at the other side of that. But we live in, unfortunately, a very self-deprecating world where we're taught here to not make a mistake. And that if we make a mistake, we've done something bad. And that's just mentality that needs to change, and just go, okay, whoops. So I chose this direction. I've got to go through the process and understand that I've chosen this lesson to go through.
So the apparent hardship and obstacle is, one, self-inflicted, and two, there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong.
There is no wrong, exactly. There's no wrong answer. And can I do a little change of vocabulary? It's not self-inflicted. The word inflict means I'm trying to create harm to myself, right? So I would even change that dialogue to, if we've gone through the challenge or hardship, it was just part of the journey of me changing into a better, stronger, higher vibrating human being. So I wouldn't even use that terminology. And I think as part of using, one thing I've become very aware of in my work, and even in Egypt is a big teaching about Egypt, is the power of word and the vibration of our frequencies through word. In Egypt, for example, the temples are really designed as major, all these hieroglyphs are really walking through, basically initiation temples. Every single, hieroglyph on those walls were powerful and given power because the words and the glyphs and the stories that were chosen were there to create a form of quote unquote magic. And the reason is that the Egyptians really believe, the ancient Egyptians believe, that every single word we utter has power. So really learning, and that's even a fourth agreement, one of the 4 agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz is being mindful of your word. So you can see through many ancient teachings that being powerful with our word is really key. So being mindful of how we even choose words versus like self-inflicted versus like a lesson, it's just a journey, takes and changes the power of what we're going through. I don't think we're purposely trying to harm ourselves or create that. I think we're just trying to learn along the way and taking more value in the lesson that we've chosen in that moment.
Yes, so thank you for helping me.
I didn't mean it as a correction. I'm just more like, I get very mindful of that.
So we're kind of talking about discernment, and how would you say the heart, being heart-centered, kind of helps us with that process?
This is the key, and this is also the key to the self-healing, piece of this. So what I've learned is your heart is the source of your soul. So as you know, we are all, souls who have come into this body. So you've heard that we are a soul on a journey, not a human on a journey. And the soul resides and resonates from our heart chakra. So while all the chakras to me are extremely important, the heart is where we actually resonate and is the center of our soul. And I mean, when you ask people, where is your soul? You're going to put your heart here and not here, right? Or your hand here, not in your heart. So when I ask people, where do you feel like your soul resides? Everybody goes here. They intuitively, that the power of who you are is here in your heart and not in your mind. And so having to discernment is learning to get out of the ego mind, which is not a horrible thing. The ego it's like checks and balances, really. But too much of our life right now has been taught to live head first. We're living from the brain all the time. We're living from the ego all the time. And when the ego is in control, judgment is in control. And when we learn to come into the heart, and spirit, by the way, working as a medium taught me all this, is, when I work with spirit and they connect with me as a medium, when loved ones come in, they don't connect in my brain, Peter, they connect in the heart. The energy of my heart quickens, and any mediums who are out there would understand that we get a quickening, and the quickening is coming from the heart space because my soul is going, oh, spirit's here, I need to raise the vibration. It's not my brain that's doing that. And so I learned that my soul is what is connecting me with spirit. My brain or my ego then begins to interpret the information. So I do need the ego mind to be there, but I've learned to navigate what I say heart first. And so as we talk about the heart breath, which is just this incredibly simple technique about putting the ego into the heart and creating a new center of being and learning to live and navigate the world from this way, what that does to you is it opens up a whole new field of perspective. And for those of who are listening who are empathic healers, this is going to be the most grounding thing we can teach you, because being empathic is a superpower and not a burden. And that's also something that needs to be understood and brought to balance. So when you learn to balance the heart and the mind together, you're going to live a lot more centered, and you're going to navigate the world more energetically clear. And Peter, we all have moments of this anyway, right? We can feel the vibrations of different people around us. It's how we know when someone's in a good space and someone's not in a good space. We are feeling that on a soul level. So our energy comes out of the body and it resonates what we call our aura. So in the healing work, we understand the aura is the energy that comes out of us, but it's really coming from the soul essence, isn't it? When our soul radiates out of our body, we feel that in the aura. So when we're moving through the world and we're learning to feel from the heart space, you're going to learn to go, oh, this person's having a rough day. I can feel that. Maybe I'm going to send them a little love in this moment, right? And you might kind of feel, oh, this person's having a good day. Still going to send them a little love in this moment, right? And so I've learned also as a trained healer in many modalities as well, to just bring it down to the intelligence of our own energy, which is extremely intelligent. And we're learning through a lot of scientific modalities now, like heart math, that the intelligence and energy of the heart moves out of the body wider and further than that of our brains. So we're also learning that the heart intelligence is smarter, more intelligent, and out there further in energy from our bodies than our mind can go. What we've again done is we've shut it down a lot because we're living from the mental place. And so I don't want to just say here in America, but in a lot of places of the world, we've learned to close the heart down. We've been taught to pull it in, protect your heart, which to me is almost the wrong way to be teaching. What we need to be teaching is open the heart, live openly. But when you learn to center and ground in the heart, you can do it from a place that's safe, that helps you emotionally navigate the world from a healthy way, and can also balance those empathic moments when you're feeling overwhelmed and anxious. So I hope I explained it all pretty well. That's where, my work as an intuitive also, when I teach intuition, I don't teach, we work again with the ego mind in aspects of learning to interpret what we're feeling. But I always teach from the heart first, learning to feel your world from here, get the sense there, and then allow the mind to help interpret that. So for example, Peter, you've got beautiful energy, as we know, and I'd be like, oh, this energy is gorgeous. I just want to soak in, be in that space. And then my mind might go, oh, I can feel that he's got gentle compassion in his heart. So my heart can tell me that you've got a beautiful, gorgeous soul and light. And the mind can interpret that, oh, it's working with compassion and healing and joy in life, if that makes sense. So we want the two to work in unison, but we need to learn to be more grounded in the heart, live out here, navigate emotionally this way. And this is how I make a lot of decisions in my life. I'll tell a very quick story about what happened just before the pandemic. I had a journey plan to Egypt that we did successfully in February of 2020. And I had a journey planned in India for the beginning of March of 2020. Back in October of 2019, my heart was freaking out over India. I don't know what it was, but the minute I put it on sale, I felt it here. It didn't feel right to me. And I'm going, okay, why doesn't this feel right? And this has also taught me that a lot of people here knew the pandemic was coming before it happened, because we were feeling February, March may have had changes in our lives, or people were making drastic changes and shifts in their life. So we knew months before that this was going to happen. We just couldn't egotistically get that it was going to be a pandemic, right? So I remember back in October, I called a friend of mine who was going to do this journey. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I don't want to cancel this after we just put it on sale, but everything in my heart is freaking out about this. So I think we need to do something. And she's like, I'm feeling the same way. And so I took that as a sign. I'm like, we're just going to pull it down. We'll review it. And my first thought was maybe the two journeys for me were close. My body might have been saying going from Egypt to India would have been a lot, and then Egypt happened. It was successful. I went to Bali and I got back just in time for for lockdown. And I realized in the beginning of March, I'm like, if I had kept that journey going, I would have been in Egypt trying to navigate a journey to India in the beginning of a pandemic and trying to cancel all that. So my heart knew months before, Lauren, this isn't going to work. My ego couldn't fathom why. So I listened to this uncomfortable feeling in my body, and it was the hardest decision to make, to cancel a journey, but the greatest decision I made in my life, because it really made everything flow so much more synchronistically for me. And I got to tell you, Peter, because you asked me earlier, like, How does the universe keep coming at you? It took me almost a week to listen to that voice. It was in my heart though. Like I spent a whole week somewhat anxious going, what is wrong? What is wrong? Like I've done India before, like what is wrong? And everything in front of me looked perfect. It looked like it should happen. People were starting to sign up. They were ready to do it. So I'm like, what is wrong? And so sometimes we are making decisions. We don't always understand why in the moment. It took me months to go, wow, I'm so glad I listened to that. Now, I could have not listened and I could have kept that journey alive. I would have just been faced with the challenge of having to cancel that while being abroad. So I'm so grateful that I felt that weight in my heart heavy enough to go, this just needs to change, even though I don't know why yet. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of us, is the not knowing why. We have this 2-year-old mentality, the 2-year-old why child, I call it. You're like, why? How we are 2 years old. We always want to feel something and have an instant answer as to why. And if there's one thing I've learned about being intuitive, I don't need the why. I just learn to listen and then know that in the future, I will understand the reason why.
So the answers reveal themselves when we're ready to hear them.
Absolutely. Or just in time. Sometimes we just need time to happen, there's been many decisions I've had to make where I don't understand the why in the moment. And I look back later and go, I'm so glad. We all have those moments. So I'm sure you can think of a few as well, Peter. But coming back to the heart, just to kind of, come back to the why is that, so important as we're navigating, the heart is, as I said, the center of your being. So learning to trust this, get in unison with it, it will just change everyone's life. And we can talk about the heart breath, which is this incredibly simple mental technique that anyone can do. And to do it repetitively throughout the day, it will change your life. And what I love now is that science is catching up on this. So the beautiful part about this information is that science is now catching up on it. We're starting to get a lot of information out there about it. And it came to me when I was in Egypt in 2009. God, it's been so long now. And understanding, so for me, I always feel as Egypt is the heart of the world. I always say Egypt is the heart, India is the soul, which come together. They're the two most ancient societies that we have in many ways. But I believe that Egypt, as where this land is and the energies that have been created there, it's all about the heart. And so when I was in Egypt, I found myself really just putting my mind into the heart all the time and just breathing into this space. And I was blown away by how easy it was to navigate a new world and to just be so open to every experience and shift that was happening to me. And we don't need traveling. Please come and travel anytime you want. I love it. And learning to honor the world in a sacred way is also a part of these journeys. But we don't need to travel to these ancient sites to see our lives as a sacred journey. If there's one thing I've learned about our life, from the minute you're born, you're on a sacred path. You're on your sacred path. And learning to just feel that from the heart space. And we all have, I always say, your heart and your soul is as unique as your fingerprint. Not one of us is here on the same path or the same journey. And while we can learn from each other, we can't be each other. We have to go through our journey and its own unique beauty. And so learning to breathe into the heart, get centered, learning to listen and navigate from this place, and just learning to be more centered in your life will create a lot more ease, especially in this new time of change that we're in. I can't imagine a time where this is more crucial, and moving forward to keep this new way of the heart as a way of our lives is just going to be so crucial. I think we can see it, Peter. We've been so disconnected from the heart for a long time. And I think what we're seeing through the pandemic and the social changes that are coming up is that we have to return to this space to create a new loving world, because we're just not there yet. And we're really almost fighting it. So the more that we can each practice these simple techniques and get heart-centered, the more we'll start to bring a better heart balance to the world. It's individual, which becomes global over time.
So as we work on our own self-care, we help the planet become more balanced.
Absolutely. And I think it's beyond, we talk about self-care as in like get energy work and get a massage. This particular part of self-care for me is a little bit more about having a daily practice that just keeps you centered. And while this may not be like getting a massage, what this does for you is it gives you a, to me, how it represents a self-care to me is I just feel balanced and centered every day as best as I can. Now, let's be clear, I'm a human being, so I'm still practicing everything in my life, and I'm not 100% perfect. I have days where I'm like, okay, wait, let's get back into my practice. And I think that's also the key, is to understand that it's not going to be perfection, that we all teach everything is a practice. Life is practice. I think that's really what we're here to do, is we're just practicing how to be a better human. And so this particular technique and the self-care that comes from it is when you're centered and you're balanced, especially again today with a lot of emotions running really, really high, what you're doing is you're bringing your emotions into balance, which is to me a way of self-care. Because when our emotions are out of balance, we are not taking care of ourselves. When our emotions are in balance, we begin a whole different world of self-care.
I agree.
A little runny nose there. So yes.
So I'd love to participate in a demonstration if you'd like to demonstrate the heart breath.
Let's talk about this. Absolutely.
Great.
So this heart breath technique is so simple. We'll do a little bit of a simple guided meditation. And we can even expand a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about just the simple heart breath and then what you can do throughout the day. And then I'll even show you how you can deepen the heart breath for those who want to maybe add it to their regular meditation practice. So we'll start first with just what it takes to simply bring your heart and mind into balance. So wherever you are, Peter, if you're sitting here with me or wherever everybody is at home, take a moment to either just soften your gaze and find, you can do this eyes open. You just want to soften your gaze, find somewhere to either stare or focus, or you can gently close your eyes if that feels right. And we're just asking that you bring your mind, all these thoughts that are in your mind, direct your mind into the center of your heart. And just start, as your mind stays aware of the heart, just some gentle breathing. So you're just breathing in and out, gentle. But the key is to keep the mind aware of the heart through this whole process. And as you're breathing, you're going to start to notice that your whole energy begins to center in the heart space. And the mind will naturally start to get quiet very quickly. So we're just breathing the mind into the heart space. I love doing this right now myself. And I always say to people, put a little, like you just did, Peter, put a little smile on your face and you feel a little smile in your heart. Let that energy just kind of warm your soul up, just breathing the mind into the heart space. And this is already this simple heart breath. Now, while you're there, let's expand this a little bit more for those who want to expand this into their meditation. So as we're in the heart space, become aware of how you perceive the light in your heart. Is it a glow that you're sensing? Or for those who may not be visual, but feel vibration, you might notice your heart is a little excited and energetically happy that you're breathing into that. So just breathe into that joy or breathe into that glow. And I want you to deepen the breath a little more. So deeper, fuller breathing into the heart, mind in the heart. Fill the belly. And as you exhale, allow that light in the heart to get a little bit brighter, a little bit brighter. And again, a nice deeper, fuller breath into the body, into the heart. And as you exhale, just feel that light getting even brighter and allow your heart to really open. For some, this may be a very new feeling, I know. So the more that you practice with this, the more comfortable it will be. Just breathing deeply into the heart, mind in the heart. And as you exhale, just feeling your heart open out as best as you can beyond the physical body. Feeling as though you're now radiating love, feeling centered in the heart. And I like to add a little extra element of energy to this. So listening into the heart, ask your heart, what energy is going to best support me today? And just see if your heart is calling for compassion or joy, love or gratitude. Whatever comes up in the heart, I just felt gratitude in mine for being here with you all. So I want to breathe now in the energy of gratitude to my heart. So I'm going to breathe in gratitude. And as you exhale, I want you to breathe that down into the root. So just breathe gratitude down into the body. Feel that permeate through all of your being. Now, while we're in this beautiful heart space, let's open up to really connecting with universal oneness. So as we're heart open, radiating like gorgeous stars, I want you to imagine, feel, or know that the universal love, white light is just radiating down upon your being. Almost like gentle sun rays that warm the body. You just feel that universal light. And now I invite you to breathe in that universal light right into the heart. Just breathe into the heart. Nice and deep if it feels right. Let that healing white light come into the heart. And you can even feel it naturally just want to move through all of the body. So let that healing light breathe into the body. Trust the intelligence of the universe to add a little extra energy to you. And let's connect to being more grounded. So bringing your awareness down to the earth below, feeling the pulsing heartbeat of Mother Earth coming up through your root chakra, through the body. And as you become aware of that heartbeat, breathe that light into your heart, connecting with that universal light, feeling these energies dance with joy in your heart. And this creates a gorgeous essence of the divine child that you are, connected to Mother Earth, connected to that universal light above. And just allow a quiet breath here to be in the heart, mind in the heart space, breathing beautiful. And I'll even teach you all a simple technique I call the breath of love. And this is a wonderful way to simply send love to people around us who may need healing and support. So I invite you to connect to anyone in your friends, your family who just kind of naturally come to you right now that might need love and support. Just feel them in your heart. And without judgment, without direction, just breathe love into your heart. And when we exhale, exhale the energy out through the heart chakra and feeling that being sent to those that you love. In my mind right now, I'm breathing love, joy, compassion into my heart. Sending that out to the world, to humanity, with no judgment, just simple love, a breath of love to humanity. And then also, again, coming back to gratitude at the end of these moments is so key. So taking in a breath of gratitude, resting in the gratitude to the universe, to Mother Earth, and to your heart's essence. Just taking a few quiet breaths here, mind in the heart, filled with love and gratitude. Void of thought and worry. feeling settled and present for your day or your evening. And take a moment to inventory how you feel right now. Just notice how you might feel different from before these simple breaths. Staying in the heart, mind in the heart, take a deeper, more grounding breath into the body. Exhale as you perhaps become a little bit more present with the room around you. And if it feels right, or when you're ready to open your eyes or return your gaze to the room around you. And I always say, if a gentle stretch feels good, to allow that movement in the body. How do you feel?
I felt a very strong feeling of harmony, which, and I've been staring at this little guy. This is the Harmony Buddha. We haven't been talking lately. And he's just like, you got to get centered, kid, you know, and I haven't been paying attention. And I think the Harmony Buddha, I'm right there with you. So
Yeah.
thank
And
you for that.
harmony is another wonderful keyword, you know, harmony in our lives, which is so key right now. You know, as we're coming through these next few months, this is to me the hardest part of the shift that we're in. It may have seemed now easy to go inward and go into lockdown, but coming out of this movement is going to be harder in many ways. And so to create that ease, as you can see, Peter, too. So for you and for those out there, the heart breath can be done in simple steps. One, throughout the day, sometimes I just pause for 2 minutes, put my mind in the heart and just breathe a few times. That alone, anytime you're feeling overwhelmed or frantic, will begin to center you. Did you notice any sense of how quick that happened for you?
I have to say, I came in to the session today, you know, with a lot of stress. I got a lot going on, and I was feeling like I was the hamster on the wheel. And how do I get off the wheel? And as soon as I started the breath, and as soon as I was aware of the heart and harmony, just kind of.
It's that simple, isn't it? And I think that's the key to one of the things I love is simplicity. I love a good process too. You know, we do healing work, both you and I. So I love a good ceremony where we call in the energies and we do all this stuff, but sometimes we don't have that time. And I think what people need to understand is that getting into a simple balanced space does not need an hour-long meditation or ceremony. It needs less than a minute of mind, heart, breath, and you're there. And to do this moment throughout the day. So like before now, a lot of people ask me what I do before I start a session. Do I go through a huge meditation? No, I sit. Even before I was here with you, I took a few heart breaths and I just get present. And we can deepen these times because of course, the more time you spend there, the better that's going to grow for you. So for those of you who have a meditation practice, or for you, Peter, to make this the main focus of your practice is going to change your life. I think the heart breath should be the main part of every meditation. And for all of my guided meditations, it's how we begin every single one, because we can meditate and just be of Zen, but to bring that coherent time together is just so powerful, so simple. And the more time you spend there, the easier that it gets to get into that space frequently throughout your day. So for me to just stop, we all always say stop and breathe all the time, but I say stop and breathe into the heart, and that will just shift the emotional balance so much more. I've been teaching this a lot, and I do offer this in different formats all over the work. So when and for those who are here, we'll be getting an access free link download to the heart breath meditation that you'll have for them. So they'll have a little bit of a guided one that I've done for you all that's very simple, that works with this in a more expanded way. But to just, not even through my own guidance, to just add it to your regular meditation practice, begin your meditations with this simple technique, and then do whatever it is that you do, it to me will simply change your life in a way that is so easy, and it's kind of a no-brainer. And it's how I've centered all of my work in teaching since I had this epiphany, almost 15 years ago. So that's why when I teach this as the core of everything I do. And I think for everyone to add it to the core of their life, it will open up so much more ease and direction and balance in your life and harmony. In an easy way. Yeah.
There is definitely a power in the simplicity.
It is. And again, I love a good process. But if there's one thing I've learned in the moment, and this is even something journeying, and I think it was Shirley MacLaine when she wrote about her hike through, oh my God, I'm forgetting the name of it right now. But, the letting go of everything from the backpack to the clothes and just all you need is you. And, when I did my first sacred journeys, Peter, I would carry a huge backpack filled with crystals, right? Because I want to open up grids and stuff everywhere. And now I carry a little tiny pouch of mini crystals with me and only use them randomly. I don't, at the end of the day, we have these tools and the tools are so powerful that we can use them. But the most powerful tool you have is your heart and your breath. And you have that with you everywhere you go. So at any point that you're feeling stuck, it's that simple. And to remember that these processes are great, but at the end of the day, all you need is your breath and your heart, and they are with you everywhere you go.
Lauren, thank you so much for your sharing your pearls of wisdom and that awesome technique. How can our audience reach you if they have any further questions?
If they want to connect more with me, you can find me at laurenrainbow.com. And on there will be all kinds of directions from meditations on Insight Timer to Hay House Unlimited Audio if you like the meditations. And I know, like I said, through this program, they'll be able to get the heart breath meditation as well as a download. But laurenrainbow.com is where you can find out everything about me, including sacred journeys.
Excellent. Well, Lauren, again, thank you for being part of our journey. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Peter, for having me. And to all of you out there, I'm just sending you and everybody a breath of love and knowing that with these simple, beautiful moments, we can all get through this together. And, I know that we're moving into a new place of love and light. So I just want to send you all love, and you as well, Peter, for putting this amazing opportunity together for self-care and healing all the way around.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, be well.
Yay.